going. So while we're waiting for others to jump on, tell me what's going on. Share some good things. Stacy, there's always good stuff going on in your world.
Okay, so yeah, I am like Mardi Gras out right now because like after Christmas is everybody like gets ready for Mardi Gras, right? There's parades and everything like that. And I'm on this dance team, Bionic Babes, and we march in the parades and stuff like that. So Sunday I was in a parade. I did 29,000 steps. Oh my God. And then this Sunday is even longer. So that's going to be fun. But so, and it's Bionic Babes, we're dancers of hopes. It's for cancer survivors and people who have dealt with cancer. So it's a really cool cause, and I meet a lot of really awesome people. So I've been in Mardi Gras mode, and finally Tuesday is Fat Tuesday. It's over with finally, so I can really start working.
But you know what? Giving back and doing things like that, as you'll hear with James today, it's amazing to have the ability to do that. And it just absolutely fills our soul.
It does. I met James at a EXP con, the first EXP con that I went to, and I just remember his shoes, and he was very philanthropic, and I thought that was awesome. I'm so happy that he's on this call today.
Well, I am too. And I'm thinking next year, James, we got to hook Stacy up with some shoes.
I've been accused of having some pretty fly shoes, so maybe that's going to be my next life if this real estate gig doesn't work out.
I think it's going to work out for you. So who else is on the call? Let's see. Brad, hi, good morning.
Morning, Peggy. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. How's Canada doing?
Just living the dream.
Tell us what's going on in that market up there.
Well, very low inventory. Definitely seller's market still. Yeah, we're a bit of a unicorn here in Canada, actually, in Saskatoon. It's pretty unique. There's a lot of other places in the country that are seeing some changes going on, but here it's still very much a seller's market.
It is. What's your average price up there?
About 400K.
Okay.
Just under. Yeah.
And what's your days on market?
Again, of course, it depends on the neighborhood and the area, but
Right.
here about 35.
Oh, okay.
Most houses, though, if they're even in January, February, if they're priced appropriately, they'll sell in a couple of weeks, really.
Okay.
It's that there's still way more buyers than sellers, and when a good property comes up, it gets snapped up pretty quick, as long as it's priced appropriately.
Got it. Well, I'm so glad when you jump on the call. We've got our regulars here. Let's see, John. Hi, you're sitting in your car.
Good
Where are you?
morning. Yeah. Good morning. Yes, we're putting a roof on a listing of ours that it was my gal's grandfather who passed away, so we put on the market, and they're putting a new roof on today. So I wanted to check on the boys, making sure they're doing okay.
And you get to do two things. So remind us where you are.
I'm in Clearwater, Florida.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're just north of me. Well, I'm in Puerto Rico, but when I'm in my home at Cape Coral, you're just north of me.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Hey, Peggy, can I make a real quick point here if it helps the team? We all like to get Google reviews, right? I mean,
Right.
that our business is built on that. And I thought what I try to do, and I would encourage everybody else to do, if you're trying to grow a team, right, whether it be, in referral base or with downline, don't be afraid to give the agent on the other side a Google review without you asking for one.
Great tip.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a really amazing tip. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
and for those, and you know what I was thinking, how do you go back a year from like the agents you worked with a year ago? Why would you ask them now? And a simple thing you could say is, look, I just started my own Google business page, and I'd love to give you a review. Okay, so don't ask for one, just give one, and you never know what that may bring, right?
That, John, that's a golden nugget there. That's really amazing. Wow, I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so we are gonna jump in. James, I'm gonna have you hold up just a few more minutes to that story you're gonna tell, but give us a basic background about you and what you do. And I was just so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you for having me, Peggy. It was a tremendous honor. I got asked where connected was through another EXP agent, Eva.
Through Eva.
Daughter Kobe asked me to start off the new year with a little story of how do I get to where I'm at? Almost 25 years in the business, over 1,500 sales, and I said it was interesting because we were just chatting about different stories and how our life story sometimes paves a way for our future endeavors. And so I'm in Dallas, Texas, as I put on the little label there, and I've been here since 2000. So going into 26 years of living here in Dallas, originally born and raised though in Flint, Michigan. So you're going to hear a little bit about my time in Flint, and I was grateful to get out of Flint too. So anybody watch Flint Town on Netflix? I'm just curious if there's any Netflix bingers. Okay.
I
You might
haven't
want to
heard
check
of
it out because it's interesting because Flint's notorious for having more homicides per capita than any other city in our United States. So
Wow.
yay, go Flint. That's where I was born and raised. So hey, but good stuff comes out of bad, and out of the
Yeah.
crucible of the fires and out of the crucible of life, some really great stuff has come, and that's what has led me on this path of meeting some great people. And in fact, I was talking to Gene, and I said, "Do you remember Gene all those years ago? He used to be a Keller Williams team lead, and he used to own the Dallas office there around Press Road, right down the street from her." And when I first got licensed, right after September 11th happened. So anybody remember September 11th, where you were in the world, when that happened?
Absolutely.
I was getting my last little bit of contracts class done, and we rolled in the TV. If you remember the TV carts back in the day, and everybody was freaking out. The lady next to me was screaming bloody murder because her husband was downtown New York that same morning, and she couldn't get a hold of him for 4.5 days. So just those kind of memories and stuff. But I also remember going to Gene and Susan to their Keller Williams office and learning about new construction home sales.
Mm-hmm.
So how funny how that full circle comes around and stuff there. So that's why I would say these little interactions, I don't think they're just happenstance. I think everything happens for a reason. And I've always embraced Tony Robbins. Everything happens for me, not to me. And when you become the
I love that
victim,
for me.
you're putting everybody else in power. But when you become the victor over your status, then you can win. So that's a little bit about me.
So what are you doing in real estate right now? How many deals? Do you have a team?
I have a team in Dallas, and we have been doing a really good start to 26. It has just jumped out of the starting blocks. I had my best January last month there, closed 8 deals, and January is usually a quiet month in Dallas for us. So it's usually, hey, I have a really big November, December going in January. But this one was, really 8 solid deals that close. And then now February is right on track. We just closed our 6th deal here. 10 days into February. So
awesome.
Between those two, that's 14 deals to start off the first, 5 weeks of this new year. So very pleased with that. And these are really great people that I'm working with. And Dallas is a gem as far as, where a lot of relocation happens. So a lot of these folks that I'm working with are coming from other states, coming to Dallas where there's no property taxes, no state income tax. I'm sorry, there is property taxes, no state income taxes. We're kind of a really good caption for new home. And a couple of these were new homes that I put under contract or sold. And so, yeah, our market is really popping here in Big D.
So James, when you had these closings in January, you were doing a lot of work in December. You didn't
I
shut
was. I was. Yeah, and I'm a Brian Buffini disciple. Any Brian Buffini lovers in the house, or everybody that knows Brian
I love
Buffini?
Brian Buffini.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So he has us doing this all out blitz. It's actually called a blitz, and it's a full activity base a lot of lead generations, a lot of making phone rings, a lot of making introductions to people, a lot of connections with people. Like I'm having lunches with some of my business owners, like my title, my mortgage, my insurance, and taking those out to lunch. Try doing that, folks. When you want to get some business, take those people that make your business operate out to lunch. So when I take out my mortgage guy, he's like, hey, I'm the usually one taking out the realtor. You're taking me out to lunch. And I do the same for my insurance and title and so forth. Now, I still let them buy lunch every so often, but for this purpose, an all out blitz, the first quarter of 26 is just led out to just right off the starting blocks, Peggy. A lot of interest, a lot of
I agree. And, I've taken out mortgage people or title people, escrow, whatever. And when you offer to pick up the check, they are truly
blown away,
appreciative and blown away. Yeah. And, this is, it's also a nice time to give them a gift. And we talk about giving them a gift of Jean's book.
Yeah.
And people don't expect that, step out, do something different. So I want to start your story because we're not going to wait to the end to talk about this. I did hear you speak. I was actually sitting out in the backyard here in Puerto Rico. That was my last trip here. I think in January you kicked off with Eva and Colby.
Yep.
And I was in tears. I absolutely was in tears. And y'all might want to sit down and grab a tissue, you guys too, because you're not going to believe this story. And I'm just going to let you take it away. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you, Peggy. It's an amazing story, and it's all true, which is crazy. Some of our most challenged days, kind of forge us. And I'll start with a little. I remember trying to get down that sidewalk of my house, the road that led to my from my school to my house in Flint, Michigan, and I would try to pick which yard I could cut across because there was big boys waiting for me that were going to jump me and beat me up. And this was when I was 5 years old. So I was a little guy just coming home from kindergarten and just remembering getting picked on and bullied by kids much bigger, they're second, third graders. And they didn't like the color of my shoes. They didn't like the outfits I was wearing. They didn't like my color of my skin, whatever, whatever their reason for bullying me was getting to the point where, I was trying to pick the lesser of two evils. Well, maybe I'll go across this yard or across this street so I can get bullied by this other kid, but he's not as big as the one on the other street. And this happened for several weeks, and I would come home and I would be all bloodied up, and Mom was like, hey, what happened? And I said, the boys don't like me, Mama. They beat me up and stuff there. And I would bleed lip, and I'd have rocks thrown at me and so forth there. And it didn't matter what I did. I would get beat up mercilessly. And this led to kind of things escalating because we were in a predominantly African-American part of town of Flint. And Flint still to this day is pretty rough. But back in the 70s, this would have been 1976. This was a really part of town that you just didn't want to be in if you could. But my parents were scraping by to get us food. My mom would always do the mac and cheese minus the cheese, if you could follow, to feed us kids. There was 4 of us kids. So she just had the third, my little brother, and she was expecting my little sister when one night she put us all kids to bed, and she woke up about an hour later. So this was early in the evening, 9:30, 10-ish. She woke up to the house on flames. House is all on fire. And the only reason why she woke up was my little brother, who was maybe all of 1, started crying. And hey, mom's in the house. Anybody who has mom buying it, carrying for your kids when they're crying, when something's up. And he was really crying and stuff. Unfortunately for me, I was a sound sleeper, so I wasn't hearing anything of Jeremiah crying, my brother. But Mom woke up immediately like, hey, I got to get my babies out. The house is on fire. Don't know what's going on. She went to the front door. It was all barricaded. There was some accelerant put on the front patio and also on the rear of the house that caused the house to go up very quickly. So the only thing she knew to do is come into our bedrooms with us kids. And she woke me up by, not so gently means, but she goes, I'm going to lift up your window, James. I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to put you outside. And I need you to run across the street and call 911. And guys, if you've ever seen a house fire in real life, it's a scary thing. But imagine at 5 years old. So my little 5-year-old legs are running across the street. Thankfully, there was this really sweet older couple that I'm banging on the door. They came to the answer and they're like, "What's going on?" And I said, my house is on fire and my family's inside. Can you call 911? Call the fire department. And I was just mortified because I'm watching from across the street, my house, the only house I've known, go up in flames, thinking my mom, my little sister, my little baby brother, and my mom's expecting little sis Joyce. I think they're all inside. I think they're all dead, and this is 5. So I've got all these emotions processing and I just was going back. Who would hate me so much to try to kill my family? Who would hate us so much that would try to set our house on fire? And then a few minutes later, once the fire truck get there and the police get there, my dad shows up. My dad had been working all day and he shows up. And so they immediately put my dad in handcuffs. So imagine little 5-year-old James here across the street, watch your house go up in flames. I'm staying with the older couple. Don't know what's going on. Don't know why my dad's in handcuffs in the back of a squad car. Just thinking, what on earth is going down here? And they finally checked out his alibi. He had been, with a bunch of workers. So there's no way he could have set the house on fire at the time frame that this house happened. And eventually the ambulance had taken my mom and my siblings in the back and they reunited us and stuff. So eventually, nobody died that night, but everything that we lost in the fire, which put in perspective, in 1970s, we didn't have much. Okay. We were on food stamps, welfare. I'd had government cheese. Anybody know government cheese and government surplus crap? They try to pretend it's food and say, here you go for you, the 2 folks. So the cheese that wouldn't melt, the milk that doesn't taste like milk, the cornflakes that taste like cardboard. Yeah, that's what we had to live on, to sustain. And, family of 4, kids, and my dad was just doing everything he could to struggle. So I just remember, Peggy, the next day I took a little stick and I was going through the ashes of what was the leftovers of our house. And if everybody's seen some of these fires that have happened, California fires, other fires around, ever see what's remnants of it, it's wild what will stay and what will be consumed. So there was like a dinette set that we had that the metal was still there, but all the other components were gone. Like I was just trying to say, is there any toys, anything I can save? Nothing. It was all eviscerated. And I just remember scooping through ash and then just having this really despondent feel because when you don't have much and the little that you have is taken away very quickly, there was no like saving my teddy bear. There was no saving any toys. It was like get you and your siblings out and get them to safety. And I don't know how my mom, till this day, all expecting, she had a big old belly. She was, she just had my baby brother. So she still hadn't lost all the baby weight. And then she was expecting about 6 months pregnant with my little sister. She got out of probably a little 20 by 20 window back then and managed to come out with just black and blue marks all up and down her body and stuff as an expecting woman. And it's a miracle she didn't miscarry. It's a miracle. Suffice to say, we moved after that. We got a little bit of runway with a few people from church, so they ordered us some money so we could stay at a motel for a couple of weeks. And then I remember we went to live in my dad's TV repair shop, and then we went from sleeping into the station wagon for a while, just until we could finally find the means to get enough money scraped together to get into a house. And it was in a different part of Flint, actually in a place called Swartz Creek outside of Flint. And I remember this now several months later. So that fire happened in the summertime, like early summer, late spring, early summer. And so we're talking 5-6 months later. My little sister is born in October. She's fine, but she's got some medical challenges. And we were going to go into Christmas in 76 without anything, guys, not even having a Christmas tree. So if everybody's been through a season where it doesn't feel like Christmas, it wasn't feeling like Christmas in 76. And this is kind of what's an interesting tale, because you mentioned my philanthropy and some of you guys have known about my shoes and stuff. So somebody told the men's Shriner group about our family and our dynamics of, hey, 4 kids, there's 2 boys, 2 girls, here's their ages, here's their sizes. And the parents don't have 2 nickels put together. So let's try to bring some Christmas joy to these folks. So I remember the day, 3 days for Christmas, when the doorbell rang, or we didn't have a doorbell, it was a knock on the door. And I answered the door, and these funny men with the funny hats. Everybody see the Shriners? They got the big tassels off their caps, and big burly guys, They're like, hey, is your mom or dad home, son? I said, Mama, there's some funny men out here with funny hats. They want to talk to you. And Mama comes out to the front, and these little angels of mercy brought us kids a Christmas tree that day. They brought us bags and bags of groceries. I just remember a big old turkey and roasting pan, bags and bags of groceries. I've never seen so much food in my life. And they brought each of us kids an outfit and a pair of shoes. And remember, I said earlier, I got picked on because of my outfits, my shoes and stuff, because I always had my cousin's hand-me-downs. I had my duct tape specials. I had my cousin, who was several years older, his leftovers from my aunt, my mom's sister. And by the time JT was finished with anything, they were pretty worn out. So if I say, it was not the most fashionable, not the most pleasing. And to get a fresh pair of shoes, and I'll never forget them, guys, the white Converse shoes, the little high top All-Stars. Anybody remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my first pair of actually ever in my life. I just turned 6 at that point. So that Christmas, it just struck me as that dichotomy there. Because remember, 6 months earlier, people didn't like us and try to kill us, to a whole different 180 perspective, where 6 months later, these guys who I never saw again, I never saw those Shriner men, but I'll never forget that feeling of giving, something, because that was the start of us rebuilding our life, so they were able to get us through the holidays. They gave my parents some monies, they got some groceries. I've never seen so much generosity at one point. So fast forward, now I'm doing pretty well. I'm in the real estate game now, and it is a wild deal, because I get involved with a guy named Tony Robbins. Any Tony lovers here?
Yeah.
All right. Any firewalkers in the room? We got a few firewalkers. No, okay.
No.
I've done his UPW, his Unleash Power Within, and this particular time, it was 2016. Good grief! I was doing his Date with Destiny, his big event. He spent a week with Tony Robbins. You come back a different person. I promise you. He's fully in an immersion state there this week. It's in Palm Beach, Florida. We're out there going from like 9 in the morning till 3 in the morning. It's crazy. You get a like 4 or 5 hour break to sleep, and then you come back and repeat, rinse and repeat. But during that week with Tony, he was helping us kind of make plans for our future, the Date with Destiny. And he was talking about, you need to forgive the stories of the past. Your past is your past, okay? We've all had trauma. We've all had stuff happen. But that is not defining you unless you let it define you. And he told us a very important point. Divorce the story, marry the truth. Meaning,
say that again, James.
Divorce the story, meaning the story of, I'm too fat, I'm too old, I'm too this, I don't come from economic means, I don't have any wherewithal, I'm too slow, I don't process stuff right, whatever, to marry the truth. The truth was, inside of all of us is a gift. It is our energy, our core, our essence. And he says, marry that gift, marry your heart. Love is better than hate at any given point. And it was wild, because Tony's words kind of really kind of washed over me, and it kind of was making peace with that, because I always kind of had an edge. Like, first of all, Peggy, I said, because I came from nothing, I'm going to work my butt off to be economic free. I don't want to have anybody else tell me I can't do this and stuff. So at an early age, by 12, 13, I'm making 2-3 grand a week. I'm making more money than, my parents at that time. I'm lending my parents money so that they can pay the bills. And I've always been an entrepreneur and always done all what I took. But it was always with an edge. Like, I got to prove that I'm not white trash. I'm not going to prove that I'm not somebody that should have burned up in the fire. And I got into real estate. And just as soon as I got into real estate, the world as we knew it collapsed in 2001 with the Twin Towers falling and stuff. And then, God willing, I meet Brian Buffini. I go to Austin, Texas, June 2nd, 22nd, 2002. And I see this funny Irishman on stage. He was talking about working by referral, Popeye's notes and calls, and doing your business relationship like. So I started then on a path of building up my business over a relationship base. And then I meet somebody like Tony, who kind of helped forge my personal soundtracks, if you will. So fast forward, I get to where I'm meeting with my broker, and my broker's like, hey, I got this big function we're doing for City House. It's a big runaway shelter in Plano, Texas. I bought a table, that I'm sponsoring. We've done the Secret Santas over the last couple, Christmases. So I'm very, giving back because, like I said, I've been around it and I know what it's like not to have Christmas. So having that opportunity to go to JP's little, event that he's doing as a sponsor. And I said, sure, I'll go. And he's like, yeah, you're going to get something out of it. And it was funny because they were doing their 30th annual gala, these groups, and they're all like the little Shriners group, a bunch of saints that are taking kids off the streets, child protective service kind of situations, helping others and destitute, a lot of kids and a lot of young adults, people that really the system kind of forgets because they are too old to be adopted usually, but too young to be on their own. And he's like, hey, we're going to be doing this gala. I would love for you to come. So I go sit in that room, and I heard story after story of all these kids that they've taken off the program and how their lives had changed. And I couldn't help but have some similarities to, wow, my life has changed for the better because somebody reached out during that very tender age of 6 and blessed us with gifts. And then I heard one of the directors, she said something that will forever changed my life. She goes, and one of our biggest needs in our house is for shoes. And I heard the word shoes and I perked up because remember I done Date with Destiny with Tony, and I then managed to lose like 50 pounds over the next, 12 months. And your clothes don't fit the same, your shoes don't fit the same and stuff. So I went revigorated and revitalized James to a lot more color, a lot more fun shoes. And some of you guys don't know the shoes. So just to show.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you going to show your shoes?
Show these are not your average pair of shoes. Okay. So this is just a day in the life of James now. Okay. But as luck would have it, I'm at that point where I'm buying some fun shoes. Oh, thank you for the heart. I love it, Lisa. Yeah. And I'm getting a lot of love for the shoes. It's something that's differentiating me and stuff there. And then as I'm going to hear the City House lady, this director, this Angel Mercy saying, hey, we have a big need for shoes. I'm like, aha, I could do something with shoes. Mm-hmm. And so I call her up. I said, hey, I was at your gala last night. Couldn't help but hear you guys need some shoes. How many shoes are we talking about here? And this all brings it full circle, guys, because I'm like getting excited because I'm like, maybe I could do something, pay it forward, right? Like the Men's Shriner did it for our family. Maybe I could just do this one time and pay it forward. And she said, it was so wild. She goes, it is so crazy you're calling me. We just had a director's meeting after our event last night, which was a great success. And you're part of JP's group, JPAR? I said, absolutely. JP and Associates Realtor. So anybody that knows JP around here. And I said, yes, ma'am, I am. And I said, I couldn't help but hear your need for shoes. I'd love to partake in that. How many shoes are we talking about? And she starts getting emotional. She goes, I need 80 pairs of shoes for these kids so
80.
they have something. And guys, this was in Christmas 2018. It's wild how God works in mysterious ways. And I said, well, ma'am, I'd be glad to go get those 80 pairs of shoes, but I haven't ever bought that many shoes. And I don't know what sizes, boys, girls, men, women, what you need. She says, well, I'll put it together. Let me get with my other, helpers. And she sends me over this list. And it's like a laundry list. It's like all these, I need 3 men's pair of 9s. I need 3 girls 6s and so forth. I literally take the list. I go to the nearest Target. Target's a bad place to buy shoes, by the way, in quantity, just so you know. So I go frustrating out of there. And I said, well, maybe I'll find them on Amazon. Forget about buying them on Amazon because you can't, it's just a hot mess. So I go to Walmart. And I go to Walmart and I go in their shoe department. It's a pretty good assortment. And I buy all 80 pairs. And I get these together and I'm getting excited because I can't wait to start, passing these out to the kids and stuff. And as it would be, sometimes your best thinking happens in the shower. I was in the shower that morning and I was thinking through all this stuff. And I just had this interaction with another business owner when she saw my fly shoes like I have on, and I showed up at a network event. She goes, James, you have some sharp shoes on. Those are fly. And I said, oh my God, my last name is Sharp, guys. And I have the sharp shoes. And I said, wow, I could probably do something with this. I said, well, let me just put it out there in social media. And at this point, I had bought several pairs of fun shoes. And I started my 12 days of shoes that December as well in 2018. So anybody that follows me on social knows this has happened now for years, since 2018. But I picked 12 of my favorite pairs of shoes. Instead of the 12 days of shoes, I call them, instead of the 12 days of Christmas, I call them 12 days of shoes. And I said, hey, maybe some other folks want to join this bandwagon and help me buy some shoes for kids. I'll open up to God, whoever needs shoes, have them reach out to me these next 3 weeks of December 2018, and I'll go bless them. And so I had my HVAC guy give me shoes, my title person give me a bunch of shoes, my mortgage person, so forth. And I collected in like literally 3 weeks, 500 pairs of shoes. It was wild. So not only do I have enough shoes for City House, the child homeless shelter, which we go deliver. So I'm delivering all these shoes the week of Christmas, but I bag them up as Christmas gifts and big Christmas bags from Dollar Tree. And I'm delivering all these pairs of shoes. I delivered to a dozen different organizations, 500 pairs of shoes in December of 2018. And then I'm posting about it on social media. But one fan of mine that never goes to social media was my mom. She didn't know what her son had been doing this whole month of December. I said, Mama, I call her up because we're supposed to have Christmas the next day. This is Christmas Eve, 2018. I said, Mama, I just delivered 500 pairs of shoes to all these organizations. And it was all by word of mouth, folks. So tell, God your plans and, he'll laugh and stuff, but then he'll also put you to work. So it was amazing. All the different groups that reached out, from elementary school age to teenage runaway shelters to homeless shelters and so forth. It was all through grassroots effort, word of mouth. I'd never done anything like this. I didn't never have experience buying 500 pairs of shoes. It's a lot to do in a few weeks' time, but I had so much fun doing it. And I said, Mama, I feel my cup lifted up. I feel my cup is full because I gave. And she says, oh my gosh, tell me more. And I told her about all these kids and all the families and all the stuff. And I said, Mama, stop the press. Do you remember this was now 46 years ago, I said, when the Shriners had delivered, Christmas to us? She's like, no, not so much. I said, Mom, the house fire that we had in 76. You remember that? And you know how some people protect their memories? They'll kind of block out the bad stuff so they don't dwell on it. Well, she kind of blocked it out. And I said, Mama, the house fire where we almost died, but you saved us. And she goes, yeah, I remember. It was a dark moment. I said, but do you remember that Christmas, how the Shriners brought us Christmas cheer that year? And she goes, yeah, I kind of remember. Yeah. I said, they brought us a tree, Mama, and they brought us the food, and they brought us shoes, they brought us clothes and all that stuff. And I said, I now know what it's like to get a gift like that, like these kids have been getting, these families have been getting these last few weeks. She's like, I'm so proud of you, son. That means the world to me. I'm so proud of you. I didn't know what was about to happen. But 3 hours later, my brother calls in a panic. My brother calls and says, James, I know you just talked to Mom. We're supposed to have you guys come over tomorrow for Christmas, but she's collapsed in her bathroom. And I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. It looks like to me she's had a stroke because she's unresponsive. I'm the older brother, so of course I'm supposed to know exactly what to do in these case emergencies, as a real estate agent. I said, well, call 911, get the paramedics out there. Which hospital are you going to? John Peter Smith. All right, I'll meet you there. And I'm running out the door like quick as gangbusters because the lady that saved my life, the lady that's raised me, my mom, had just had a massive stroke just a couple, 3 hours after I talked to her. And if you ever see somebody that's had a stroke, it's the most sad and just challenged time because she couldn't respond when I came to the hospital room. They had her all medicine up and stuff, but they said she may never be able to talk again. She had a very debilitating stroke, which basically paralyzed most of her body. She wouldn't be able to bathe herself, clothe herself, or any of that stuff, feed herself, go to the bathroom by herself, any of that stuff. And she certainly couldn't talk. And my mom was a nurse. I didn't mention that, but Mom had taken care of, so many countless babies and young women. Hundreds of people are saved because of my mom. And I'm looking at this little caregiver, my mom, saying, this is a woman that saved my life out of that burning fire. And she is now here where it's in a really bad shape. And spend the holidays in the hospital is not a place you ever want to be if you can help it. And then, as it would be, she had another massive stroke a few weeks later, and we buried her February 1st. And I remember being there in hospice when they said, hey, she's got probably a few hours to live. Probably should have the kids come say their goodbyes. I bring my kids. There are 2 boys and a girl. And I said, hey, you got to say bye to Nana. And I just remember holding my mom's hand and that precious head of hers. And I just told her, hey, Mama, I know I told you I'd done this thing with the shoes. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to continue to do it in your honor. And I know they say a person's hearing is the last thing to go when they're on the last stage of life. I know she heard that. And I know that since then, I have made it a 501c3. We have now blessed over 40,000 kids and families with shoes in the last 7+ years since doing it. And it's not just about the cool shoes. It's about my mom and her memory and stuff. And it was such a dichotomy because, again, you go from somebody that didn't like me to try to harm my family and me to that one message of hope and inspiration from the Men's Shriner Group. And that act of hate almost has now created this big drive for me to bless over 1 million pairs of shoes and 1 million pairs of feet before I die. And I know you probably weren't expecting that on Wake Up Wednesday, but that's the story of Sharp Shoes. So when you see me at Cabo, you see me at EXPCon, there's a story bigger than the shoes. But that's the reason why the shoes exist to this day. And thank you, Peggy. Because every time I get to share that story, it just it brings me close to my mom. I do have a website. Thanks for using it. Sharpshoes.org. I'll put it in the chat box. We still have families gets nominated from sharpshoes.org. My mortgage guy helped me start that website. all my partners over the years, I'll go every year. When I was in Puerto Rico in December, Peggy, I was doing videos about sharp shoes while I was in Puerto Rico. And I was like, hey, I happen to bring these shoes on the trip. And everything is just kind of being intentional. And so do you want to be an intentional person or a wandering generality? And I'm a person of intent. And thank you, Reading. I appreciate that. And you guys have been the blessing of blessings. I think a lot of you guys are in EXP. So then you guys will come up and say hi, and, we can have a moment and stuff. But to me, never begrudge where you came from. Never begrudge the story of your past, because your past is what's forged you and chiseled you into who you are today. But don't let it define you too. If it was a heinous act like mine was, make it an act of purpose. Pay it forward, And I'm not done, folks.
No.
I love sharing that story, and it's a powerful story. It's wild.
It is. I want to ask you,
Sure.
were you able to forgive the people that barricaded your house and threw gasoline on it and tried to kill you and your family?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, part of the whole Tony experience was done that way, and then I did this thing called Landmark. The Landmark.
I did Landmark.
Anybody done Landmark? Okay.
Oh,
cool.
I've done Landmark.
It was kind of funny because I was doing all this serious personal growth, So I was doing Tony Robbins and Darren Hardy and Brian Buffini and Zig Ziglar's program and Brian Tracy, and then Landmark Forum and stuff. I think I was kind of messed up from all the upbringing and all this challenge. But during Landmark Forum, we spent a weekend really delving into your historical challenges of your young adult, middle life to where you're at now. And during that experience, I was able to forgive Peggy, those people that did it. We never did catch them. They never were prosecuted. Don't know if they are alive or dead right now. But I do know that one act, and what I was able to converse with that is like, hey, I'm actually blessed because of those people doing such a heinous act. They had no idea that one act of hate was going to morph into this huge acts of love and kindness for all these kids who need shoes around the world. Isn't that crazy?
It's we all have shit that happens to us.
Absolutely.
And it's how you deal with it. And forgiveness, I try to say this to everybody. I don't care what's happened. You've got to forgive to move on. You can't live in the past. You can't live in hatred. And Landmark was definitely a life-changing event for me. Wake Up Wednesday is a life-changing event for me because I mean,
you got a great group here, Peggy. There's some amazing people.
3 years ago, I went to Gene with this crazy idea, and none of us ever thought it was going to, it was kind of like, okay, Peggy's going to have her friends on, they're going to do a Zoom. And then we've done 3 retreats, and it's this platform that we get to meet so many people. And you want to talk about culture and sharing, building a legend.
Yeah.
Lisa, are you talking?
Yes, I was saying that, like, I literally have to redo all my makeup, redo my mascara.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's
sorry, Lisa.
Incredible, and that I need to meet you in person. I love your story. Peggy knows I've got a nonprofit, and you just inspired me that it needs to get a little jump start, a little back into it. Right, I've had to put it on the back burner, and put God. I don't know. I've been struggling with. I put a lid on something that the pot that God had boiling. I had to put a lid on it because it got bigger than I could handle. But God's not. But God is bigger than that, and I need to not put the lid on, and I need to lean into it. And yeah, you just. I don't even know what to say. You've just inspired me so much.
Aww.
Isn't he amazing? I mean, this
amazing.
is what I want people to take these Zoom meetings with the people that not only are the speakers, but the people who are just showing up to come here for years and listen, because they all pour into everybody at some point. And we can do so much for others, so much for others. And to hear your story and how you're going and what you're doing, this isn't just about, hey, how many deals are you going to do this year? This is not about your
Yeah.
production, and it's what are you doing with that money? Gary Keller wrote a book, The
Absolutely.
Millionaire Real Estate Book.
Mm-hmm.
And on the cover of that book, and this touched me 20 years ago, it's not about the money.
Nope.
It's about what the money can do. And I hope that every single person finds a charity, finds a cause, because sitting there by yourself doesn't do us any good.
No, and I got the whole reason why those men volunteered all those years ago and probably did it personally out of their pocketbooks to buy all that stuff. I know they walked away from that house that night saying, we have truly made a difference today. So
Mhm.
fast forward, they didn't know too the ripple effect that that one single act of kindness and what that will do for multiple ponds and multiple areas of the world. It just, you never know, folks. And maybe shoes ain't your jam. Maybe it's coats or blankets, or hey, I like to take in dogs or homeless or whatever. Find your jam, find your shoe,
Find
find
your
your mission.
jam. And
Yeah, to
everything
me.
else gets blessed. You know,
Yeah.
you gone back to the Shriners and told them this story?
I need to, Peggy. That was, you just kind of enlightened me. I need to let the Shriners know. And I've been to Michigan a bunch of times. I've been by that old house, and it's no longer there, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and been rebuilt. But it's kind of this part of me that it's like you never forget where you came from, but I don't
Right.
dwell on it too. The blessing is I'm around you guys. I'm around a lot of love and a lot of support, a lot of kick-ass people, and the thinking process has evolved. And so, yeah, I use my real estate as a catalyst for good, and maybe this has inspired one or two of you guys to do that too. I also would love to do a sharp shoes in your area. So, hey, Sharp Shoes ain't just stuck in Dallas. I've gone out to Miami, Florida, when we had a big EXP rally there. And I went to those directors and I said, hey, can we do a little something for these kids? There is in every major city kids and families that desperately need shoes, guys, to this day.
I don't know if I told you this. She's not on the call today, but Cindy Myers is in Fort Myers. And
Uh-huh.
she invited me to this coolest high tea. It was a Christmas tea. And the only thing you had to do to come was to bring a
Pairs
minimum
of shoes.
of one pair of shoes. And she had all of her girlfriends, everybody had a table. There were 10 people to the table. And it was a Christmas tea, and it was bringing shoes to kids in the area to help them. And I think we all could do something. I just
Absolutely.
giving back. I'm thinking right now a couple of events that I'm going to be doing. Let's talk to Nicole about this for Build in Dallas. I'm on the committee for that event the last week in July. Let's get some shoes going. And I think everybody here on Wake Up Wednesday can do shoes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
so
I'd love to partner up with you, Peggy, on it and do something really cool and stuff like that.
I will talk to you more about that, about the
Sure.
build in Dallas. But open up your mic, Sky. What are you feeling? Let's share the love with James, because this little boy shouldn't be here. They
Yeah.
barricaded that house and set it on fire to kill his entire family.
Crazy.
Oh,
Thanks for all the hearts. Love you guys.
Brad, I'm going to call on you because I read your emotions. You and I are. What are you feeling, Brad?
Man, great story, James. Thanks so much for
Thank
sharing
you.
that, dude. Like that's,
Yeah.
I don't know how you get past something like that, right? And to be able to transform it into so much good. Um, yeah, I'm still, I guess I'm still processing it. Like I
It's a powerful story. It's crazy. Yeah. And living it is even different because a lot of people don't believe me. I've actually survived a fire that should have killed me. And to think of it in that way still to this day, it's just very somber event. But the other thing is, everything happens for me. There's a reason to that bad stuff happening. And it really makes me appreciate to this day the little things. Does that make sense? Like the littlest
Yep.
little things, like my daughter's footprints, my little kids, color page and stuff there. I keep everything and stuff just because I also grew up where I didn't have any of those mementos. I don't have pictures from when I was young. I mean, the only pictures I got is from my grandmother who gave me the pictures that she took of our
Mhm.
family for the first like 5, 6 years of our life. And when you feel like, in some regards, somebody was so disliking you, they try to erase you off this planet. It's pretty somber. But out of that came amazing gifts and amazing, abilities. Like I'm so empathetic. I have a big heart. I want to give back. I have given 40,000 pairs of shoes from every settlement, guys, that go buy a dozen pairs of shoes. So I literally got upstairs, a little Payless shoe store ready to go anytime there's a breakout of, hey, I got this family and I'll do Frisco ISD, I do Plano ISD, I do Louisville ISD. Those people who are Dallas know I support all of our local schools with their little, Frisco threads, for example. They take these kids and the parents and they get to come in without appointment, and they come in once a week and they can outfit their kids with shoes and clothes and outfits and stuff. Because a lot of families don't have two nickels put together. Shoes are expensive. Anybody bought shoes lately in like last week, 50, $60 a pair. Easy for something
Yeah.
decent that ain't gonna fall apart by Tuesday. So
How did you get your partners involved? Because that's wonderful too.
Yeah.
It's a whole community that you put together.
I went first. Okay. I just stood up and said, hey guys, I may not resonate with anybody here in the room, but I'm gonna lead the charge. I'm gonna help this group in City House, bless them a bunch of shoes. Anybody else would like to do this? And so my HVAC guy was the first to raise his hand. He donated the first pair of shoes, the sharp shoes. He's like, hey, would you take some gently used shoes? Like these shoes have never even been worn. My son, I bought them, but they're too little and he's outgrown them. And he's like, they're little, Spider-Man shoes. I said, absolutely. So we've taken Emily gently used shoes, and I have families and clients that sometimes like, hey, Aunt Dorothy passed. She's got a closet full of shoes. Hell, when my mom passed, I went in her closet. Mama had been a holdout. She had cute shoes in boxes with still the sticker on them. She never wore it because she had her little favorite little sneakers and stuff there. I was like, Mama, these are some cute shoes. And I took every pair that Mama had and I repurposed it to the homeless and to those men and women, the women who needed it, for their needs. And every pair that we get donated, we make sure they have a good home to them.
James?
Yes, reading.
My nickname's Tucker, by the way, and I live here in Dallas. And awesome. I've got Sophie Cunningham on the phone with us in the meeting, Peggy. She's a WNBA player, and she just texted me and said she's in.
All right. Let's do it.
Yep, she's going to help me help you.
Oh man.
Hey Sophie,
we're better together, right, Peggy? Better together.
Yes. I mean, this is it. This is the whole purpose of this. So many great things come out of us just coming together every week and sharing ideas. It's Lisa, I see you there shaking your head.
Yeah, when you started, James, you said, our life story paves the way for our future endeavors. And yes. I was at a stoplight as I was driving the first part of this call, and I had to type that and put it in the chat so I could later take a screenshot of it and remember that, because that is such a powerful statement. I didn't know what was ahead and what you were about to share, but my goodness, that just resonates. And I think your partners lean in because you're so willing to be vulnerable, right? And you're so willing to share your story. And I always say that our history is his story. My faith is important to me. So his meaning, our Lord and Savior's story, but I always say our history is his. And, but the key of it is us being willing to, yes, grow from it, but also share it with others so that it can inspire. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I didn't expect this on this Wednesday morning.
No,
I mean,
this week on Wednesday was a little different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's
You're
beautiful.
here for a reason and a purpose, folks, whether you admit it or not. I should not be here on this call with you. I really shouldn't. But through the grace of God, I there walk, and I know I got unfinished business.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you guys know I lost my daughter to a horrible autoimmune issue, and she was just 23, just 2 years ago. And this month will be her heavenly birthday at the end of February. But she made me promise her on her last day when I seen her alive to take care of me for her, to not just walk half baked through life, but to live each day as though it was your last, because it could be your last, folks. So I just told you how I lost my mom and I lost my daughter. You just never know. Tomorrow's not promised. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. Today is the present. That's why it's called the present, folks. So if you got anything out of this, there is like, you're not here on this Wake Up Wednesday just by happenstance. It was very orchestrated. Now, Peggy is the straw that's stirring the drink up. You all have to drink, but it's one of those things like, what are you going to do today to make somebody's day?
Yeah.
What can you do today? You've made my day by showing up here and let me share the story. And I hopefully have made a little impact on your day and your week to make a difference out there for folks. So
I think we're going to start a Wake Up Wednesday shoe campaign, and
let's do it.
We'll talk more about that, James.
Lisa wants me to come to North Carolina. I said, let's go, baby. I've been out there. I was at the Bills,
yes,
North Carolina.
Come,
Charlotte.
please. Yes, please.
This has been amazing. Anybody else have final comments? We got a couple of minutes here.
I'll put my cell in chat too for everybody.
Yeah, please do that. And, again, it's a blessing. I mean, Eva invited me to her group, which got me to hear James, and I'm crying more now. I mean, I already knew the story, and I'm crying more now. So, James, thank you so much. So, let's just quickly, what are you doing in the next 30 days that's going to set your business up for April? Because you've already got you've had 8 closings. You have 8 closings going. So what are you going to tell this group besides getting shoes?
Well,
what should they be doing?
It's crazy. Okay, so I will go a little business on you, but I will say I don't do this shoe charity for the business that it's brought, but hear this. My last 5-6 years have been my best years ever in real estate because I have doubled down and partnered and done, hey, last year, 5,000 pair, the year before 5,000 pair, So if you really have any wherewithal, when you give it out in slices, it can come back in loaves, and be prepared for the loaves or the bread truck in this case. I've been able to meet amazing people on this journey of life just because I gave a pair of shoes for a family. So it just can take one pair and just start that process, but you give it out in slices, it can come back in loaves, Peggy. That's what I want to finish on.
I love it. You're amazing. You're gonna be in Cabo. You've already got your shoes picked out.
Yep, I'm gonna be Cabo, folks.
Wow, yep. I can't wait. I'm going with a couple pairs of flip flops.
Oh, I have some fun shoes. Trust me, because Brent does his last night party. That's a little shindig. Yeah, with a little bit of fireworks, a little dance floor and stuff. So you'll see me with some blinged out shoes. It'll be fun. Good. Can't wait to see some of you guys who are going there. But you know how to get me. I put my information there. Right. Cell, email, sharpshoes.org. Would love any support, guys. You can message me. We take all sorts of payments, but just know any donation does go immediately 100% to the shoes. And it's a blessing. And like I said, we got a bunch of kids and families that need shoes this year. Let's go make it happen.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, James. I love it. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm headed to freezing cold Connecticut tonight. And next week, I think we have Nick Krim on next week, but I'll double check that. So thanks, everybody.
I love Nick. Nick is awesome. He's in for a treat.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, James. I can't thank you enough.
All right.
Thanks,
Much love.
guys.
Thank
Love you
you.
all.
Bye.
Bye.
Love y'all.
Bye, guys.